This is Alex Rivera Martin speaking, Director of Raccoon Elementary School, or Raccoon School for short, where our main focus has always been to make education inclusive to students of all cultures and special needs. Diversity in classrooms shouldn't be a roadblock for any child to learn and grow just as much as the rest of their peers, and over the past few years, we've made sure that wasn't the case. However, it takes a ton of effort from our staff in order to make this possible, and this seems to finally have taken a mental toll out of them. The most recent school assessment diagnosis shows some worrisome results, and as the director of Raccoon School, it is my responsibility to immediately address them. Here is the report on screen right now. As we can see, only 15% of teachers report high or very high levels of well-being at work, while 57% report moderate to negative well-being. 83% of teachers identify work overload as the main source of stress, and 63% cite student behavior as a major factor affecting mental health. Finally, 54% of teachers still report moderate to favorable job satisfaction. As of recent, the public administration has started to support schools by proposing possible measures generated by artificial intelligence that are meant to be effective in a general range of scenarios. But is this actually true? Let's go over some of these.
Streamlined, universal design, documentation. Moving away from individual inclusion folders for every child, we will adopt a Universal Design for Learning (UDL) lesson planning template.
This measure goes against everything Raccoon School stands for. Using the same prescribed method for all students with any kind of special need does not assure the child will be able to adapt to the class. There is no such thing as a definitive method because each student works differently. Allow me to make an example. This is Billy. Billy has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD for short. Billy sits at the back of the class and struggles to pay attention to what the teacher is saying. The prescribed method says that all children with ADHD should sit in front of the class. Once Billy changes seats, he suddenly starts to catch up on the lesson way better than he used to. This, on the other hand, is Lily. Just like Billy, Lily also has ADHD. Lily sits at the back of the class, where she can be alone and uninterrupted. However, the prescribed method says she should sit in front of the class. Lily is now sitting in the same row as Billy, but instead of helping her, just like it helped Billy, she can no longer focus. She's no longer alone. Her attention can only drift towards her peers' actions. This is because ADHD doesn't affect Billy the same way it affects Lily. Just because both of them have ADHD doesn't mean their brains cannot function differently. Same condition, different needs. Teachers spend less time on administrative paperwork, and stress due to work overload rapidly decreases. However, children with special needs are now left unattended, and many of them, like Lily, now face a roadblock the rest of the class do not, negatively affecting their academic performance and making education less inclusive.
No emails, wellness window. We will implement a policy where no internal emails are sent between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m., or on weekends.
Limiting the time interval emails can be sent on could decrease work overload, at the expense of a key factor, communication. Both parents and teachers must be kept informed of the child's situation to ensure they are able to keep track of the class, especially those with special needs. While the time interval of 11 hours between 7 and 6 can seem like more than enough to get in touch with the teacher, this entirely depends on the specific conditions of each family. Billy comes back from school on Friday, and he brings homework for the weekend, that's to Monday. However, he wasn't paying attention when the teacher was assigning the homework, and he has no idea what to do. Luckily, while Billy's father is at work, his mother stays at home in order to take care of her child. During this time, she's more than able to send an email to the teacher and find out what Billy has to do for the weekend. Meanwhile, Lily has the same problem. She couldn't quite hear what the homework was for the weekend. However, unlike Billy, Lily lives only with her mother, and she's working away from home from 12 to 8 p.m. Lily's mother has signed her daughter up on multiple extracurricular activities so she can be taken care of while she's at work. At 8:30 p.m., she picks up Lily from basketball. Lily then tells her mother she wasn't paying attention to the teacher when she was announcing the homework. Lily's mother had no way of knowing this prior to 6 p.m. She can no longer send a message to the teacher until Monday. There's no way for her to ask about the homework. When Monday arrives, Billy's done all his homework, and the teacher grades him with an A+. Meanwhile, Lily hasn't done hers, and the teacher grades her with an F. Lily now feels demotivated. She feels incapable and lazy. But Lily isn't lazy, nor is she any less capable than her peer Billy. Billy's mother just had more time to ask, and Lily's mother didn't. Their situations are different. Their families work differently. Their mothers have different schedules. Time intervals make communication between parent and teacher exclusive to general situations, and sometimes inaccessible for more specific ones.
Tiered behavioral support system. We will establish a response to intervention (RTI) framework for behavior that provides immediate management support for Tier 3, high-intensity incidents.
This seems like a good measure. Children in an emergency situation regarding violence and/or mental health breakdowns can be handled by trained specialists while teachers continue the course of the lesson. This will heavily reduce the impact of student behavior on teachers' mental health, as well as increase job satisfaction by making teachers feel safer and more supported in their classroom environment, while students get the attention and/or treatment they need. There's just one problem with this proposal. How could this ever be achieved? It will undoubtedly be ideal for students to have access to special help in moments of crisis, but this is just very unrealistic. If part of the already available staff was to take part in this, they'd have to go through very special training, as such delicate situations cannot just be handled by anyone. Even then, assuming this management support team is available at all times during school hours, it will depart the staff from their position as teachers to fulfill a completely different kind of role. Hiring someone external isn't viable either, as real professionals in the subject are heavily expensive and their work on these very specific scenarios won't justify the cost.
Diverse Resource Library. We will allocate a specific portion of the budget to a diversity and inclusion resource bank, including sensory tools, multilingual books, and adaptive technology.
This suggestion is actually rather smart. Making education more accessible by providing a series of resources that adapt to each student's needs is a great way to assure every student is able to keep up with the rest of the class. It reduces stress due to work overload for teachers, as it will prevent them from spending their own money or time hand-making these tools. If Billy, for example, is from a foreign country and has trouble adapting to the school's main language, immediate access to multilingual books will adapt the contents to his needs. If Lily, on the other hand, gets very nervous during class, she has access to sensory tools that allow her to drift her attention and movements to different textures and shapes. The students' different needs are met, and the teacher's job is made easier. This is, without a doubt, the best proposal we've seen so far.
Mindfulness and quiet spaces for staff. We will repurpose an underused office into a staff well-being room, a phone-free, work-free zone with comfortable seating.
The objective here is to reduce teacher stress due to work overload and increase job satisfaction, being acknowledged of their sensory demands and socializing with other teachers. While this does sound pretty good, it doesn't do anything that the average teacher's only room that can be found in most schools nowadays, including Raccoon School, doesn't do already. This room can be used for relaxation as much as it can be used for work and meetings. No children to interrupt their planifications and revisions, nor their conversations and coffee breaks. The teacher's only room is their safe space. Because of this, while it might have some sort of positive impact on teachers, this underused office could be used for things of much more urgent need, like a room for people of different cultures and neurodivergency to socialize. This last thing is something the AI's proposals fail to address: the relationships between peers. Students of different conditions might struggle to make friends and feel like one of the class. This causes the motivation and behavioral issues on children that are simultaneously a major cause of stress for teachers. Beyond the academic contents, learning to work and empathize with your peers is also a part of what education is all about, and student diversity can be a huge roadblock for many children. Inclusive education is a huge challenge worldwide, considering the wide range of student diversity. Let us look at some examples of this. Meet my sister Michelle. She has attention deficit and autism spectrum disorder. At the time this example takes place, she studies at a school in Guadalajara, Spain, where good behavior and manners are common amongst its citizens. She, out of all her peers, is the only one in the spectrum and has some notable behavioral issues, throwing tantrums constantly. She also struggles more than most to work and participate in class. In order to help Michelle regulate her behavior and motivate her to work, she is given a jar. This jar is empty, but she can fill it with plastic balls she earns by working on class, controlling her emotions, etc. Once the jar is full, she earns a reward. This allows Michelle to visualize her progress and achievements, slowly shaping her behavior and attitude to be as good as her peers. There are disadvantages to this method, however. At classroom level, Michelle is self-aware of being the only one that needs this jar, which can lead to low self-esteem. At school level, while her teacher, Marife, emphasizes the importance of the jar, other teachers might not use the same method, and this inconsistency could cause her to go bad on her progress. In the same classroom as Michelle, there's another child who we'll call Lisa. Lisa is Asian and can only speak English and Chinese fluently. This being a Spanish school, there's a big language barrier that causes her to struggle to follow the course of the classes. Because of this, she's taught through visual scaffolding, using images and videos about the topic. She's also paired with Michelle, who understands what it's like to be different, so she can make a friend and, at the same time, learn to understand and speak Spanish better. Lisa also faces certain disadvantages. On classroom level, it's very difficult for Lisa to express when and where she has doubts, amongst other issues. On school level, while Lisa is learning the language and the concepts simultaneously, her peers keep moving forward, and the gap between them might widen over time. While Michelle's problems are neurological, Lisa isn't necessarily neurodivergent, and her problems don't come from her capacity to work or learn, but from the language barrier, a great example of the Matthew effect. In Raccoon School, we want to adapt education to every child's needs. School organization plays a key role in this, as it can be structured to be more accessible for everyone. We could, for instance, make changes to the scheduling in order to make space for special assistants. For starters, people with ADHD, like Billy and Lily, cannot follow the same rhythm as the rest of the class. We can add special periods to help them out, like tutorship sessions on the first period of every Tuesday, to help them catch up on anything they might be struggling with. We can also schedule sessions with a Learning Support Assistant, or LSA, in some of those periods to help them keep up and foster independence. Another way to adapt schedules to the rhythm is by adding some extra time on the period after an exam, as people with ADHD tend to take longer to process information in their head. Lastly, schedules can be built around recognition for responsibilities outside of school, like Lily's extracurricular activities while her mother's at work. In order to implement these changes, the best approach should be a transformational leadership, encouraging the staff to remodel the traditional scheduling systems, innovate, and exceed expectations for the sake of growth and inclusion. I will be honest, I had a very rough start. I struggled to find a group to work with, and due to medical appointments and the distance between my house and university, I wasn't able to keep track of the class for most of the first half. I managed to slowly recover in the second half. I found a group to work with and managed to assist class more often. I'm aware that I haven't been as participative as I could have possibly been, but I am still proud of myself for pushing forward and fighting to recover. Due to my initial lack of participation and missing projects, I can only give myself a 6 out of 10 at best. During this course, I've learned that school organization is way more important than I initially thought. It can change the efficacy of the lessons entirely. I've realized that if you're brave enough to look outside of the box and mess with what usually works, schedules, groups, and even leadership can be rearranged to make education more convenient for everybody. However, it was especially fascinating to look deeper into student diversity and the different methodologies to make education more inclusive. As someone in the spectrum, who also has ADHD, I could relate to a lot of the things we've seen throughout the course. I already had some knowledge on the subject, having experienced many of these things myself, but what really stuck with me was the difference between segregation and inclusion, between being tolerated and being one more of the class. Students with different disabilities and religions are just as human as anybody else. I truly do dream of a future where being different isn't an exception, but a normalization, where we can all be a part of the same class without changing who we are. Bigger or smaller, we all have our differences, and that makes us all one and the same. If there is one thing I have learned from making this video, it is that I have more passion for education than I ever thought I did. I feel like, even if small, I too can make a difference. We all can. Isn't that why we're here?